Royal watchers across Europe are buzzing with disbelief as Queen Letizia Ortiz of Spain finds herself at the center of a public embarrassment that no mother, let alone a queen, would want to endure. The controversy stems from the release of what many are calling unnecessary images of her eldest daughter, Princess Leonor, the heir to the Spanish throne. This shocking episode has not only unsettled the royal family but also sparked intense debate across Spain about privacy, dignity, and the pressures of monarchy in the modern world. The story begins with what should have been a routine appearance, one of the many events that the Spanish royals attend to maintain visibility and connection with the public. Queen Letizia, known for her elegance and control, has carefully curated her public image over the years. She is respected for her modern approach to monarchy, her journalistic background, and her determination to raise her daughters Leonor and Sofia with as much normalcy as possible in the glare of the spotlight. Yet despite her best efforts, this latest scandal shows just how fragile that balance can be when cameras, tabloids, and public interest collide in ways that are hard to control. The images in question, which were quickly circulated online and picked up by certain outlets, involved Princess Leonor in moments that many consider private or unnecessary for public consumption. While not scandalous in a traditional sense, the photographs crossed a line in the eyes of many royal observers. They were moments that did not add to Leonor's official image as Spain's future queen but instead opened her up to uncomfortable commentary and undue scrutiny. For Queen Letizia, who has always fought to shield her daughters from invasive press coverage, this was an open wound. To see her daughter displayed in this way, at an event where cameras were present but decorum should have been maintained, was deeply embarrassing and even heartbreaking. Spain's press has long walked a complicated line when it comes to covering the royal family. On one hand, the monarchy remains an institution that fascinates the public and generates enormous interest. On the other hand, Spain has a history of heated debate over the role and relevance of the monarchy, with critics often ready to seize upon any mistake, misstep, or perceived scandal. Queen Letizia herself has frequently been a lightning rod for criticism, with some commentators painting her as too assertive, too modern, or too controlling compared to more traditional royal figures. That history made this moment of embarrassment particularly painful. For those who dislike her, it seemed to validate claims that she is failing to protect the dignity of the crown. For her supporters, it was an unjust invasion of her family's privacy. Princess Leonor, just 18 years old, has become a symbol of hope and continuity for Spain. She represents a new generation of royals, modern, educated, and aware of the responsibility that awaits her as heir. Her public appearances are carefully choreographed to show her maturity, responsibility, and readiness to one day take the throne. Yet at the same time, she is still a young woman with the right to privacy, to mistakes, and to moments outside of the spotlight. This duality, public figure and private teenager, makes her particularly vulnerable to the kind of exposure that has now caused such uproar. Queen Letizia's embarrassment in public was visible to those who were there. Witnesses described her as tense, her normally composed demeanor cracking as she realized the kind of attention these unnecessary images were drawing. In Spain, body language experts have already been analyzing her reactions, noting how she looked uncomfortable, avoided eye contact, and sought to regain control of the situation. For a woman as media-savvy as Letizia, who once worked as a respected journalist and TV presenter, losing control of a narrative like this is both rare and painful. What makes this incident even more controversial is the question of responsibility. Who allowed these images to be taken, and why were they released? Was it a lapse in security, a failure of palace staff to manage press access, or was it the result of opportunistic photographers pushing the boundaries of what is appropriate? These questions are now dominating Spanish media, with commentators debating whether the royal household failed to protect its heir or whether the press itself should bear the blame. The Zarzuela Palace has remained tight-lipped, issuing only vague statements about respecting the dignity of the royal family, but insiders suggest there is deep anger behind closed doors. The Spanish public has been split in its reaction. On social media, thousands have rushed to defend Queen Letizia and Princess Leonor, condemning the circulation of the images and demanding greater respect for the young royal. Hashtags supporting Leonor trended on Spanish Twitter, with many highlighting that she is still a young woman who deserves protection rather than exploitation. On the other hand, critics of the monarchy seized the moment to question the entire institution, arguing that public figures cannot demand both the privileges of royalty and the privacy of ordinary citizens. For them, this incident underscores the outdated nature of monarchy in a democratic society. Internationally, the scandal has also been noted. Foreign media outlets, always eager to cover royal drama, have reported on Queen Letizia's embarrassment with varying degrees of sympathy. Some highlighted the plight of a mother trying to protect her daughter, while others framed it as yet another royal controversy in a world increasingly skeptical of monarchy. The comparisons to other young royals, such as Princess Amalia of the Netherlands or Princess Elizabeth of Belgium, were inevitable, with commentators asking whether Europe's heirs are being overexposed at too young an age. At the heart of this story is not just embarrassment, but the very real tension between tradition and modernity. Queen Letizia has always sought to redefine what it means to be a royal in the 21st century. She is not from an aristocratic background. She is a woman who built her career through hard work, intelligence, and determination. Her marriage to King Felipe was seen as a modernizing step for the Spanish crown, and her influence has been visible in how her daughters are raised, with strong emphasis on education, responsibility, and independence. Yet even with her progressive approach, she cannot escape the age-old challenges of monarchy, the relentless gaze of the public eye and the hunger of the media for stories, images, and scandals. For Princess Leonor, the incident is an early reminder of the challenges that lie ahead. Her training as heir has already been intense. She has studied at the prestigious UWC Atlantic College in Wales, often dubbed the hippie Hogwarts for royals, and has now begun military training to prepare for her future role as Commander-in-Chief of Spain's armed forces. Her public speeches have been widely praised for their maturity and eloquence. And yet, despite all of this preparation, moments like these, when her private self is exposed in ways she cannot control, may be the hardest part of her journey. The scandal also highlights the shifting relationship between monarchy and media. In past decades, the press often respected certain boundaries, especially when it came to children of royals. Today, in the era of digital media and viral images, those boundaries are eroding quickly. A single photograph can spread worldwide within minutes, regardless of whether it was taken respectfully or not. For Queen Letizia, who once worked in journalism herself, this must feel like an ironic betrayal. The very industry she once served is now the one undermining her efforts to shield her daughter. The emotional toll cannot be underestimated. Mothers everywhere, regardless of their status, understand the protective instinct when it comes to their children. For Letizia, this is magnified by the fact that her daughter is not just her child, but also the heir to a centuries-old institution. The weight of that dual role, the need to both protect and prepare Leonor, is enormous. Public embarrassment of this kind does not just wound a mother's heart, it threatens the very narrative the monarchy is trying to build about its future. As the controversy continues, many in Spain are asking what lessons will be learned. Will the palace tighten control over media access at royal events? Will the press be pressured to adopt stricter guidelines regarding coverage of Leonor and Sofia? Or will this simply become another episode in the long and complicated history of tension between Spain's royals and the media? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear: this incident has left its mark, and Queen Letizia's visible embarrassment has become a symbol of the difficulties of navigating monarchy in today's hyper-connected world. For now, Queen Letizia continues her public duties with composure, as she has always done. But behind the polished appearances lies a story of frustration, pain, and determination. This episode may fade from the headlines in time, but the questions it raises, about privacy, dignity, and the future of monarchy, will linger far longer. The echoes of Queen Letizia's visible discomfort have not faded. In fact, they have only deepened with time as the Spanish media continues to dissect every angle of this scandal. It is not just a fleeting embarrassment but a broader cultural conversation about the future of monarchy, the role of young heirs, and the unforgiving nature of public life in the digital era. What unfolded that day with the unnecessary images of Princess Leonor was not a minor misstep. It became a symbol of how fragile the line truly is between dignity and intrusion, between public duty and private humanity. Royal experts have been quick to remind the Spanish public that this is not the first time Letizia has been forced to defend her daughters from public intrusion. From the moment Leonor was born in 2005, Letizia has fought to ensure her childhood was as normal as possible. Unlike some royal families who allow near-constant media access to their children, the Spanish royals have taken a stricter approach, limiting photographs to official occasions and carefully managing their daughters' appearances. Letizia's reasoning was always clear. Leonor and Sofia deserved to grow up with some sense of normalcy, free from the relentless scrutiny that plagued royals of previous generations. Yet despite this effort, the appetite for images of Leonor has only grown with time, particularly as she stepped into her role as crown princess. The release of these unnecessary images, therefore, strikes at the very heart of Letizia's protective mission. For years, she has built walls around her daughter's privacy, only for those walls to be breached in a way that left her humiliated in front of the world. The fact that it happened during an event where she was present, unable to shield Leonor in that moment, adds to the pain. For a mother known for her discipline, her control, and her careful management of public appearances, this was more than just embarrassing, it was devastating. Inside the royal household, sources whisper of frustration and even anger directed at those tasked with handling protocol and media management. King Felipe, typically calm and measured, is said to have been deeply disturbed by the incident, seeing it as an avoidable failure of the palace's duty to protect the heir. Unlike Letizia, Felipe has spent his entire life under the glare of the spotlight. He understands more than anyone the inevitability of scrutiny. Yet he also knows that there are limits, boundaries that should not be crossed, and he reportedly agrees with his wife that this time, those boundaries were shattered. Meanwhile, public reactions continue to evolve. On Spanish talk shows, commentators debate whether Queen Letizia overreacted, whether the images truly warranted such embarrassment, and whether the monarchy should expect better control in the digital age. Some argue that Letizia's reaction reflects a tension between her instincts as a mother and her responsibilities as a queen consort. Others suggest that her very visible discomfort has humanized her in the eyes of many Spaniards, revealing a mother's raw concern rather than the polished perfection of a royal facade. This incident has also reignited comparisons between Queen Letizia and her European counterparts. In the United Kingdom, Princess Kate Middleton has often been praised for her ability to manage the public image of her children, though she too has battled with intrusive paparazzi at times. In the Netherlands, Queen Maxima's daughters, particularly Princess Amalia, have faced harsh media coverage, including online abuse that forced the royal family to appeal for greater respect. Belgium's Princess Elizabeth, too, has had to navigate this balance, her appearances closely managed but still vulnerable to commentary. Each case highlights the universal struggle of modern monarchy, raising the next generation of heirs in an age where privacy is nearly impossible to preserve. For Princess Leonor, this scandal arrives at a pivotal moment in her life. She is transitioning from adolescence into adulthood, taking on greater public responsibilities, and preparing for her eventual role as queen. Her speeches, her military training, and her studies are all part of a carefully designed narrative that portrays her as mature, capable, and ready to embody the future of Spain. Yet the unnecessary images remind the world that she is still young, still vulnerable, and still subject to the same human experiences as any other person her age. This vulnerability, exploited for headlines and gossip, threatens to overshadow the very narrative the palace has worked so hard to build. Royal biographers have noted that such moments can define a royal career, not because of the images themselves but because of how the family responds. If Queen Letizia is able to turn this embarrassment into a rallying cry for respect and dignity, it could strengthen the monarchy's bond with the Spanish people. If, however, the incident festers without resolution, it risks becoming another piece of ammunition for Republican critics who already question the value of the monarchy in a modern Spain. The Spanish monarchy, after all, operates under unique pressures. Unlike the British crown, which enjoys global visibility and tradition, Spain's monarchy has always been more contested, its legitimacy challenged by political currents that range from republicanism to regional separatism. King Felipe's reign has been marked by efforts to restore dignity after the scandals of his father, King Juan Carlos, whose financial controversies damaged the crown's reputation. Against this backdrop, every public misstep is magnified, every embarrassment interpreted as a potential crack in the monarchy's already fragile foundation. This is why Letizia's embarrassment over Leonor's images has taken on such weight. It is not merely about photographs, it is about the symbolism of a monarchy struggling to adapt to modern realities while maintaining its dignity. It is about a mother's instinct clashing with the demands of a crown. It is about the collision of private vulnerability and public duty in an age where nothing is truly private anymore. What happens next will determine how this scandal is remembered. The palace may implement stricter media protocols, perhaps banning certain types of photography or limiting access at public events. Queen Letizia herself may take a more assertive stance, using her influence to demand respect for her daughters. Already, allies of the monarchy have called for updated guidelines to protect Leonor from unnecessary exposure, echoing the agreements once made in countries like Sweden and the Netherlands, where the press voluntarily refrains from publishing certain types of photographs of royal children. Whether Spain's media will cooperate, however, remains uncertain in a competitive landscape where clicks and views often take precedence over discretion. For the Spanish people, this episode has sparked a deeper reflection on their relationship with their royals. Do they see them as distant symbols of tradition, subject to scrutiny at all times, or as human beings deserving of privacy and compassion? The answer may not come quickly, but the debate itself reveals the evolving role of monarchy in the 21st century. It is no longer enough to simply exist as a royal family. Survival depends on navigating these delicate boundaries between openness and protection, between duty and humanity. As Queen Letizia moves forward, the memory of her embarrassment will likely linger. She may continue to smile in public, to wave gracefully at crowds, to deliver speeches with poise and conviction. But those who were there that day, who saw the flicker of pain and humiliation in her eyes, will not soon forget. It was a reminder that beneath the crown, beneath the titles, beneath the weight of centuries of tradition, she is still a mother, vulnerable to the same heartache and frustration as any other parent. And that, perhaps, is why this story has resonated so deeply. It is not just about royalty or scandal or images. It is about the universal bond between mother and child, the fierce instinct to protect, and the anguish of failing to do so in a world that refuses to look away. For some, this makes Queen Letizia more relatable than ever. For others, it is a sign of weakness in an institution that demands strength. But one thing is certain. This incident has carved itself into the history of Spain's monarchy, a chapter that will be remembered not for pomp and ceremony, but for vulnerability and humanity. It raises questions not only about Letizia's ability to shield her daughter but about whether any royal parent can truly protect their children in today's relentless media landscape. And so, we return to the lingering question that now haunts the Spanish monarchy. In a world where every private moment risks becoming public spectacle, can Queen Letizia and King Felipe truly prepare Princess Leonor for her destiny without sacrificing her humanity along the way? Or has the era of royal privacy ended forever, leaving heirs like Leonor to face adulthood under